The Department of Mysteries had a rule. No one spoke aloud. Some rooms were for study, others for containment. The one at the end of the time corridor belonged to the second category. 3 unspeakables stood outside the door. Inside, something had gone wrong. Not catastrophically. Not yet. The instrument still hummed. The containment runes still held. But the air tasted different. Copper and ozone and something else, something that made the back of the skull itch. The senior unspeakable gray robe's silver mask raised a hand. The door unsealed without sound. No click, no hiss, just the sudden absence of pressure. Inside, the experimental chamber looked untouched. Observation mirrors lined the walls. Rune circles marked the floor in concentric rings. At the center, a glass sphere hovered above a pedestal filled with liquid that wasn't quite water, wasn't quite light. The sphere was cracked, not shattered, not broken, just opened. A single fissure ran along its equator, and through that gap, something had left, or entered. The junior unspeakable moved first. Wand up, incantation half-formed on his lips. Standard protocol for dimensional breaches, containment, then assessment, then... The boy stood in the corner. No, not stood. Existed. Like he'd been poured into the space and solidified there. White hair caught the sterile light. Skin too pale, as if it had never seen sun. Eyes the color of arterial blood, tracking each movement with the precision of something that calculated trajectories for a living. He looked 16. He looked ancient. He looked bored. The senior unspeakable's wand came up smooth, practiced. No theatrics, just intent condensed into wood and core. The spell left his wand as a streak of red light, stupefy the workhorse curse reliable as gravity. It stopped 3 feet from the boy, not blocked, not absorbed. The spell simply lost its forward momentum and hung in the air like a dying comet. Then it fell, straight down, hit the floor with a sound like breaking glass, and vanished. The junior unspeakable cast next. Incarcerous. Ropes of light coiled from his wand, thick as pythons, fast as thought. They curved. Mid-flight, the binding spell bent back on itself, tracing a perfect parabola. The junior unspeakable tried to dodge. Too slow. The ropes wrapped him chest to ankle. He hit the floor hard enough to crack tile. The boy hadn't moved, hadn't raised a hand, hadn't blinked. The third unspeakable younger faster cast 3 spells in sequence, reducto at the floor beneath the boy's feet, stupefy high. Petrificus totalis low, textbook triangulation, no escape vector. The floor exploded. Dust and debris filled the air. The stupefy veered left and punched through an observation mirror. The petrificus struck the ceiling and froze a section of rune work solid. When the dust cleared, the boy stood in the same spot. Exactly the same spot. Not a speck of debris on his clothes. Not a scratch on his skin. The senior unspeakable lowered his wand. Not in surrender, in reassessment. Identify yourself. The boy's gaze shifted. Locked on. Those red eyes held no curiosity, no fear, no recognition of where he was or what surrounded him. Just cold assessment. Where the hell am I? His voice carried an accent the unspeakables couldn't place. Not British, not European. Flat effect, no waver. The tone of someone who expected an answer and had methods for obtaining it if cooperation proved insufficient. Department of Mysteries, Ministry of Magic. You are in violation of... Don't care. The boy's eyes tracked to the cracked sphere, then to the sealed door behind the unspeakables, then back to them. Calculating, mapping exits. Threat assessment complete in seconds. You will remain here until... No. Not defiance. Statement of fact. The same way gravity wasn't a suggestion. The senior unspeakable raised his wand again. This time 6 more appeared in the doorway. Full containment protocol. Wands, leveled formations, tight backup spells already forming. The boy looked at them the way someone might look at an equation with a known solution. Then he moved. Not fast, not slow, just efficient. His hand touched the floor. The rune circles shattered. Not in sequence, all at once. Centuries of careful spellwork reduced to scoring on stone. The containment field collapsed. Alarms screamed. The lights died. In the darkness, 9 wands lit simultaneously. The boy was gone. Not invisible, not hidden, just absent. As if he'd calculated the precise angle and force needed to exit the room and executed it before the unspeakable's brains could process the movement. Emergency lights flickered on. Red. Pulsing. The corridor outside showed scorch marks where spells had misfired. 3 unspeakables lay unconscious. The others maintained formation wands, tracking empty air. The senior unspeakable reached into his robes, pulled out a small silver disc, pressed it once. Somewhere in the upper levels of the ministry, that signal arrived at exactly 3 desks. 1 belonged to the head of the Aura office. 1 belonged to the minister's senior undersecretary. 1 belonged to an old man with a long beard who sat in a distant castle and had learned long ago to pay attention when impossible things happened. The message was simple: containment breach. Unknown entity. Standard protocols ineffective. Requesting immediate backup. The senior unspeakable looked at the shattered runes, the collapsed containment field, the unconscious colleagues. Then he added 1 more line to the message. Subject demonstrates 0 magical signature. Spells fail on contact. Recommend extreme caution. He didn't add what he was thinking, what all of them were thinking as they stood in the ruined chamber. This wasn't a breach. This was an invasion. And they had no idea what they just let into their world. In the atrium, 6 levels above Accelerator walked through the main hall of the Ministry of Magic. Around him, witches and wizards in robes hurried past. None of them noticed the white-haired boy in strange clothes. None of them felt the displacement as he moved. He'd seen institutional architecture before. Academy City had plenty. Clean lines, efficient routing, cameras hidden in corners. This place had none of that. Just stone and torches and people who thought waving sticks constituted power. The fountain in the center showed golden statues. Wizard, witch, centaur, goblin, house elf, all looking up at the human figures. Accelerator stopped, stared at it for 3 seconds. Then he kept walking. Behind him, the fountain's water began to swirl, counterclockwise, against its enchantments. The golden statues trembled on their pedestals. Accelerator reached the main entrance, massive doors, sealed, warded, designed to keep threats out, or in. He touched the door with 1 finger. The wards died. Not broke, not overwhelmed, just stopped functioning. The massive doors swung open on hinges that hadn't moved in decades. An alarm finally went off, high, piercing, the kind that meant lockdown. Accelerator stepped into London's underground network. The doors sealed behind him. He heard footsteps, shouts, the sound of people mobilizing. Too slow. He looked at the strange Victorian tunnel, the bizarre phone booth entrance, the whole elaborate system designed to hide one world from another. and he thought another cage. The choker around his neck pulsed once. Battery indicator. 15%. Maybe 20 minutes of full computation. He'd need to find a way back or find a way forward. But first, he needed to understand what kind of world used medieval aesthetics to hide modern control. Behind him in the ministry, the first aurors arrived at the atrium. They saw the open doors, the disrupted fountain, the empty space where an intruder should have been. The senior auror, 20 years on the force, veteran of the First War, looked at the scene and felt something he hadn't felt since Voldemort's return. Not fear. Inadequacy. Whatever had just walked through the ministry wasn't something their training covered. Wasn't something their protocols addressed. Wasn't something that followed the rules they'd spent careers enforcing. He activated his communication mirror. "This is Auror Captain Dawlish. We have a code black situation. Subject is mobile. Last seen heading toward London proper. All units, this is not a drill." He paused, added, "Contact Dumbledore, now." The mirror went dark. Somewhere in the city, above Accelerator, walked London's streets. White hair, red eyes, foreign clothes. Nobody noticed. Nobody looked twice. London had learned to ignore the strange. He would fix that soon enough. The atrium lockdown took 40 seconds. 39 seconds too late. Captain John Dawlish stood in the center of the great hall, wand-drawn counting bodies. 12 aurors in formation. 6 holding the perimeter. 3 more sweeping the fireplaces. 2 guarding the lifts. 1 maintaining the ward matrix. Standard containment protocol. Textbook deployment. Completely useless if the target had already left. "Sir." Dawlish turned. A young Auror Proudfoot recent academy graduate stood by the fountain. The golden statues still trembled. Water spun in defiance of every enchantment holding it in place. "The wards are reading clean. No forced entry. No apparition signature. No port key activation." "That's impossible." "Yes, sir." Dawlish looked at the main entrance. The massive oak doors stood open. Ancient wood. Centuries-old enchantments. Multiple layers of security that required 3 simultaneous authorizations to bypass. Someone had opened them with a touch. "Get me the unspeakables. Now!" 3 minutes later, a gray-robed figure emerged from the lift. No mask this time. The senior unspeakable looked older without it. Worn. The kind of tired that came from seeing things that rewrote comfortable assumptions. "Captain? What came out of your department? We don't know." "Educated guess." The unspeakable looked at the disrupted fountain, the open doors, the aurors maintaining formation against empty air. "Human, male, adolescent appearance. No magical signature we could detect. Spells fail on approach or redirect. Standard binding proved ineffective. Physical appearance suggests foreign origin." "Threat assessment." The unspeakable met his eyes. He walked through 9 trained specialists without breaking stride. Make of that what you will. Dawlish's jaw tightened. 20 years in the Auror office. He'd seen dark wizards' creatures' artifacts that bent reality. All of them followed rules, had weaknesses, patterns. This sounded different. "We're sealing the building. Full lockdown. Every exit, every fireplace, every..." The lift bell chimed. Every wand in the atrium tracked toward the sound. 12 aurors, combat formation, shields up, curses ready. The lift doors opened. The white-haired boy stepped out. Not cautious, not defensive, just walking. Like he owned the space. Like the 12 wands aimed at his chest were mild inconveniences. He stopped 3 meters from Dawlish. Those crimson eyes scanned the formation with mechanical precision. Threat assessment, exit routes, force distribution, calculation complete. You are under arrest by order of move. Not a request, a statement. The boy's gaze hadn't shifted from the main entrance. Lower your wand and... I don't have a wand, and I don't take orders from people who think sticks make them powerful. The atrium went silent. Dawlish raised his hand. Stop. The gesture froze 12 trigger fingers. He'd learned that hesitation in combat situations usually proved fatal. But something about this boy's complete lack of concern triggered instincts honed over 2 decades. What's your name? The boy's expression didn't change. Accelerator. That's not a name. It's what I answer to. Where are you from? Somewhere you've never heard of. How did you get into the department of wasn't my choice? Dawlish adjusted his grip on his wand. Interrogation wasn't working. The boy gave nothing away. Every answer a dead end. Time to switch tactics. You're not leaving this building. Yeah, I am. We have 12 auras, full ward coverage. Every exit sealed. You can make this easy or... The boy took a step forward. Dawlish's wand came up. Behind him 11 others followed. Red light bloomed from 12 points. Stupefy, 12 stunning spells. Synchronized, overlapping fields of fire. No gaps, no escape vectors. The spells hit invisible walls 3 feet from the boy and scattered. Not reflected, not absorbed, scattered. Like light through a prism, like water hitting a sphere. 2 spells curved up and blew chunks from the ceiling. 3 veered left and shattered windows. 4 went right and scorched the fountain. 3 dropped straight down and cracked marble. The boy kept walking. Formation Delta binding protocols. The auras shifted. 3 cast from different angles, incarcerous, conjured ropes thick as hawsers moving fast as striking snakes. The first rope curved mid-flight, wrapped around Proudfoot instead. The young aura went down hard. The second rope twisted into a knot and fell at the caster's feet. The third vanished entirely, just ceased to exist between wand and target. The boy's hand moved, casual, almost lazy. He touched the floor. A crack ran across the marble, not random, deliberate. It raced toward the nearest aura with geometric precision. The floor beneath this man's feet tilted. He stumbled, lost his stance. The boy moved again. This time his palm pressed flat against empty air. Wind hit the formation from 3 directions simultaneously. Not natural wind. Compressed, directed. It scattered the auras like bowling pins. Dawlish rolled, came up casting. Reducto at the floor. Create debris. Force him to dodge. Standard tactical. The blasting curse hit the marble and detonated. Chunks of stone erupted upward. Deadly shrapnel in a dozen directions. The debris stopped in mid-air, hung suspended, then fell straight down. Every piece. Precise vertical drops. Gravity didn't work like that. Petrificus totalis. 3 simultaneous full-body binds. Different angles. The spells converged on the boy's position. He shifted left. Half a step. Minimal movement. All 3 curses missed. By inches. The boy had calculated the exact trajectories and moved to a position where none could connect. This is getting boring. The boy's hand shot out. Grabbed the wrist of the nearest aura. Just grabbed it. Human contact. Nothing more. The aura's wand hand went numb. Completely. Like all the nerves had been severed. The wand clattered to the floor. The boy released him. Stepped past, kept walking toward the entrance. Dawlish's mind raced. Standard spells failed. Binding failed. Terrain manipulation failed. Physical contact neutralized threats. What remained? Deploy shields box formation. 6 auras formed a wall. Protogo shields overlapping. Solid barrier of magical force between the boy and the exit. The boy looked at it, tilted his head slightly, the same way someone might look at an equation with obvious errors. He walked into the shield wall. The shields rippled, warped. The overlapping fields of force began to separate, creating gaps where none should exist. The boy stepped through those gaps like threading a needle. One aura tried to close the gap, reinforced his shield, poured more power into the charm. The boy touched the shield surface. The magical barrier inverted, collapsed inward. The aura's own spell slammed him backward into the wall. He slumped unconscious. 5 shields remained, then 4, then 3. The boy didn't break them. He walked through them, made them irrelevant. Dawlish watched the formation disintegrate. 12 trained auras, academy graduates, combat veterans, reduced to spectators in their own engagement. He raised his wand one more time, not to cast, to signal. Stand down. The remaining auras lowered their wands, slowly, eyes never leaving the white-haired intruder. The boy stopped at the main entrance, turned, looked back at Dawlish. Smart choice. What are you? The question came out before Dawlish could stop it. Not protocol, not procedure, just genuine need to understand. The boy's scarlet gaze held his for 3 seconds. Not your problem. Yet. He turned. The massive doors opened at his approach. No touch this time. Just proximity. The enchantments recognized something and surrendered. Then he was gone. The atrium stood silent. 12 auras. 3 unconscious. 2 with dislocated shoulders. 1 with nerve damage. 6 standing but shaken. 1 commander trying to process what had just happened. The unspeakable approached, still wearing that expression of tired acceptance. I did warn you. Dawlish looked at the shattered marble, the scorched walls, the disrupted wards. 20 years in the Aura office. He'd faced dark wizards, Death Eaters, creatures from restricted breeding programs. This was different. Dark wizards fought back, used spells, cursed, killed. This boy hadn't cast once, hadn't shown aggression, just efficiency, clinical dismantling of their entire tactical doctrine. Get me the minister and Dumbledore, in that order. The minister will want explanations. Then he can come down here and look at this. Dawlish activated his communication mirror. The face that appeared belonged to his immediate superior, Senior Auror Williamson, veteran of both wars, man who'd seen everything twice. Report. Subject has breached containment, neutralized 12 auras without sustaining injury. Standard combat protocols proven ineffective. Requesting upgraded threat classification. Casualties. 3 unconscious. Multiple injuries, no fatalities. He didn't kill anyone. Didn't need to. He walked through us like we weren't there. Silence on the other end. Williamson processing. Dawlish could see the calculations happening. Threat that could neutralize aurors but chose not to kill. That implied either restraint or contempt. Both options were concerning. Description: male, appears adolescent, white hair, red eyes, foreign features, no visible magical implements, calls himself Accelerator. That's not a name. I know, sir. Current location: unknown. He exited through the main entrance. Tracking teams are deploying. Hold position. I'm escalating this to the minister, and John... Sir, don't engage again without authorization. The mirror went dark. Dawlish looked at his team. Good people, trained professionals, veterans and rookies alike, all staring at the exit with the same expression. Not fear, not shock, recognition. Recognition that the rules had changed. That everything they'd trained for, every protocol they'd memorized, every tactical doctrine, they'd drilled all of it based on assumptions that no longer applied. Magic worked a certain way, had limits, followed laws. This boy followed different laws. Somewhere in the city above London carried on, muggles and wizards alike going about their evening, unaware that something had just stepped into their world. Something that made ministry wards look like suggestions. Something that walked through trained combat specialists like they were children with toy wands. Something that hadn't needed to kill anyone yet hung in Dawlish's mind. He looked at the unspeakable. What were you people experimenting with down there? The gray-robed figure met his eyes. We didn't create him. We opened a door. He came through. A door to where? Somewhere else. Somewhere that doesn't run on magic. The unspeakable turned toward the lift. I need to seal the breach before something worse comes through. Dawlish wanted to ask what could possibly be worse than what they'd just encountered. He didn't. Some questions had answers that made sleep impossible. Instead, he began organizing his team. Casualty assessment, damage control, incident report. All the bureaucracy that followed when the world shifted and protocols became obsolete. Above them, in an office 3 floors up, a woman in pink cardigan sat behind a desk covered in ministry memoranda. Dolores Umbridge read the preliminary incident report with growing interest. Unauthorized entity. No magical signature. Aurora protocols ineffective. She smiled. Opportunities came in many forms. This one looked particularly useful. She reached for fresh parchment, began drafting an emergency regulation. Educational Decree Number 27. Emergency powers for the detention of non-human magical threats. The quill scratched across parchment. Clean, efficient, legal. By morning, the ministry would have authorization to detain this accelerator indefinitely. For the safety of the wizarding world, of course. Always for safety. They found him 6 hours later. Not through tracking charms, not through magical signatures. Through the mundane observation that a white-haired teenager with blood-red irises attracted attention in a Camden Street pub at 3 in the morning. The Aurors moved in quietly. No wands drawn, no aggressive postures, just a polite request to accompany them back to the ministry. Accelerator looked at them over a cup of coffee he hadn't paid for. The bartender had stopped asking questions after the boy made eye contact. You're persistent. I'll give you that. We'd like to talk, properly, without the misunderstanding from earlier. That wasn't a misunderstanding. You tried to cage me. I left. We have questions. You clearly have questions. Maybe we can help each other. Accelerator set down the coffee, studied the 3 oars, different ones from earlier. These looked more diplomatic, less combat-ready, which meant they were lying. Fine, but no cages, no experiments. No trying to turn me into your weapon. We wouldn't. Everyone says that. Then they try anyway. He stood, followed them to a side-along apparition point. The lead Auror extended his arm. If you'll just take I'll walk. It's quite a distance to... Then you better start moving. 20 minutes later, they arrived at the ministry through the visitor's entrance. Different route, more controlled. The Aurors had learned from the first encounter. This time, they didn't take him to the atrium. They descended, past the Department of Mysteries entrance, past levels marked with designations that meant nothing to him, into a chamber that smelled of old stone and older magic. The room had no windows, no obvious exits besides the door they'd entered through. Runes covered every surface, not decorative, functional. Containment wards layered so thick the air felt viscous. A single chair sat in the center, metal, bolted to the floor. Accelerator stopped at the threshold. Thought we agreed. No cages. This is a secure interview room. Standard protocol for unknown entities. You mean interrogation room? The Auror didn't confirm or deny, just gestured to the chair. Accelerator walked in, sat. Not because he trusted them, because he wanted to see what they'd try. The door sealed. The Aurors remained outside. Different figures entered. 3 of them. Gray robes, masks removed this time. Faces that belonged to people who'd spent careers studying things they couldn't fully explain. Unspeakables. The eldest one, same one from the initial breach, carried a vial of clear liquid. The second held a wand and a look of intense concentration. The third simply observed hands empty. We'd like to ask you some questions. Ask. Where are you from? Academy City, Japan. The unspeakables exchanged glances. One made a note on parchment. We have no record of any Academy City in Japan. Not surprised. You people seem pretty isolated. How did you arrive in the Department of Mysteries? You tell me. Your people opened something. I fell through. The dimensional breach experiment. You're claiming you came through from another world. Not claiming, stating. The senior unspeakable set the vial on a small table. Clear liquid that caught the light wrong. We'd like to verify your statements. This is Veritaserum, a truth serum. Just a few drops will ensure complete honesty in your answers. Accelerator looked at the vial, back at the unspeakable. Pass. It's completely harmless. Simply ensures you cannot lie to us. Yeah, that's the problem. We're trying to help you. No, you're trying to control me. There's a difference. The second unspeakable stepped forward. Wand raised. Not threatening, preparatory. Perhaps a calming charm would make this easier. The wand came up, began the motion. Accelerator's hand moved. The wand flew from the unspeakable's grip, shot across the room, embedded itself in the far wall. 3 inches deep into solid stone. The unspeakable stared at his empty hand, at the wand jutting from impossible stone, back at the boy who hadn't left his chair. Don't. One word. Flat, final. The senior unspeakable raised a hand. Stop. His colleague stepped back. Perhaps we should try a different approach. He nodded to the third unspeakable. The one who'd been silent, observing. This one moved forward. No wand, no vial, just steady steps until she stood 3 feet from Accelerator. She was older, gray hair, lines around eyes that suggested she'd spent decades staring into things most people looked away from. I'm going to try something. It won't hurt. You may feel a slight pressure. What are you? Legilimens. The word was barely a whisper. Accelerator felt it. Not physical, not magical in any sense he recognized, but something pressed against the inside of his skull, probing, searching, trying to read his mind. Images surfaced, not his choice. Pulled up by the intrusion. A laboratory, Cold, clinical, scientists in white coats. A younger version of himself, strapped to a table, electrodes, tests. Thousands of identical girls, clones, sisters, dying. Blood on white floors. So much blood. The legilimens pulled back, gasped. Her face had gone pale. What did they do to you? Accelerator's jaw tightened. Those weren't memories he shared, weren't things he talked about. The intrusion had dragged them out without permission. Get out of my head. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. The surface thoughts were so... She stopped. Her expression shifted from sympathy to confusion. There's something else. Something underneath. I can't... It's like trying to read through static. Every calculation, every thought, it's all vector mathematics. Constant. Overwhelming. How do you think like that? Practice. The choker around his neck pulsed. Once. Warning. The mental intrusion was affecting his battery, using processing power to resist. Keep her out of deeper memories, deeper places. Step back. Now. Something in his tone made her comply. She retreated 3 steps. The pressure in his skull eased. The senior unspeakable watched the exchange with growing concern. What did you see? Experiments. Systematic abuse, mass murder. And underneath all of that guilt, he knows what he did, what he was made to do. She looked at Accelerator with something that wasn't quite pity, closer to recognition. He's a weapon, was raised as one, treated as one, and now he's trying very hard not to be one anymore. Touching story. We done here, the words came out cold. Detached, but his hands had clenched on the chair arms. Not quite. The senior unspeakable picked up the Veritaserum vial again. We still need to verify certain facts. Whether you came here intentionally, whether you pose a threat to, try it. See what happens. Not a threat. Simple statement of cause and effect. The unspeakable hesitated. Weighed options, looked at his colleagues. The legilimens shook her head, subtle. Clear message, don't. But bureaucracy had its own momentum. We have authorization from the minister herself. This is a matter of national security. He uncorked the vial, began to approach. Accelerator stood. The chair beneath him crumpled. Metal shrieked as it compressed, folded in on itself. The bolts holding it to the floor sheared through stone. The unspeakable stopped. The vial trembled in his hand. I warned you. No experiments. No turning me into your tool. No forcing shit into my body. Accelerator's hand moved, touched the air, papers on the table lifted. Floated, began spinning in a tight orbit around him, faster, faster, creating a visible vortex. The runes on the walls flickered, dimmed. The containment field meant to hold him wavered under pressure it wasn't designed to contain. You want to drug me, rip through my head, lock me in your little room. The papers shredded, turned to confetti, fell like snow. Try it, but understand something first. I've been through worse, much worse. And the people who did it to me... He stepped forward. The unspeakable stepped back. They learned to regret it. The door burst open. 3 oars, wands drawn, ready for combat. Accelerator looked at them, back at the unspeakables. This is your one chance. Let me walk out. or I make you let me walk out. Either way, I'm leaving." The senior unspeakable looked at the destroyed chair, the flickering wards, the confetti settling like accusation. He set down the vial. "Stand down." The aurors didn't lower their wands, but they didn't advance. "You can't leave. You're a security risk." "Yeah, I can." Accelerator walked toward the door. The aurors shifted, blocked the exit. He stopped 1 meter away. "Move." "We can't let you." Accelerator's hands shot out, grabbed the door frame. The metal twisted, warped, pulled away from the stone. The entire frame bent inward, creating a gap. He walked through the gap, around the aurors, into the corridor beyond. Behind him, the interrogation room's containment field collapsed entirely. Runes cracked. Magic bled away like water from a broken tank. The unspeakables stood in the ruins. 3 highly trained specialists. Decades of combined experience studying the fundamental nature of reality. Completely outmatched. The Legilimens spoke first. "We can't hold him. Not with wards, not with spells, not with anything we have. There has to be a way. Everything has limits. Then we haven't found his yet." The senior unspeakable picked up the undamaged Veritaserum vial, studied it. The legilimency affected him, not much. But there was resistance, effort. Whatever he's doing, it takes concentration. That device around his neck, it pulsed when I pushed deeper into his mind, like it was tracking something. A limiter, or a power source. Either way, it's a potential vulnerability. They looked at each other. Silent communication, decades of working together. "We need to report this to the minister and Dumbledore." "What do we tell them?" "The truth. We found a weapon. It's refusing to be used. And we have no idea how to change that." Above them, Accelerator emerged into the atrium. Different guards this time. They'd learned from earlier, kept their distance. Hands on wands, but not drawn. He walked through without incident. Out the main entrance, into London's pre-dawn streets. The choker pulsed again. Battery at 10%, maybe 15 minutes of full power. The Legilimens had drained more than he'd expected. Mental intrusion required active defense. Constant calculation to keep her out of the really dark places. He needed to find somewhere to recharge, somewhere quiet, somewhere they wouldn't look. Behind him, emergency lights flickered in the ministry. Alarm protocols activating, reports being filed, chains of command mobilizing. In an office high above the atrium, Dolores Umbridge read the updated incident report. Subject resisted Veritaserum administration. Demonstrated hostility toward authorized ministry personnel. Destroyed ministry property. Escaped containment. She added a notation in pink ink, recommendation classify as uncontrolled magical creature. Authorize use of force if encountered. The quill scratched. Clean, precise. Legal authority to hunt him. Cage him, control him. All wrapped in procedure and regulation. Violence legitimized through paperwork. She smiled. Somewhere in Scotland, in a castle on a hill, an old man sat in his office. The silver instruments on his shelves had begun humming, warning. Albus Dumbledore set down his quill, looked at the communication mirror on his desk. It pulsed with incoming messages, 3 from the ministry, 1 from an old friend in the unspeakables, all marked urgent. He activated the first message, read, sat back. His expression didn't change, but his eyes, those blue eyes that had seen too much, lived too long, buried too many students, held something new. Not fear, concern, not for the boy, for everyone else. He'd seen this pattern before. Power that didn't fit existing categories. Institutions trying to contain what they couldn't understand. Good people making terrible decisions because they thought they had no choice. It never ended well. Unless someone intervened. He stood, reached for his traveling cloak. Time to move before the ministry made this situation irreversible. Dawn found Accelerator in an abandoned warehouse near the Thames. Not sleeping. He didn't trust this place enough for that. Just conserving power. The choker sat at 8%. Maybe 10 minutes if he pushed it. 5 if someone forced his hand. Sunlight filtered through broken windows. Dust motes drifted. The city outside continued its morning routine, oblivious. He'd been calculating, running scenarios. The ministry wouldn't stop, they'd escalate, send more people, try different approaches, maybe involve the military wing he'd heard whispered about. Eventually, they'd corner him with low battery. Then what? The crack echoed through the warehouse. Not gunfire. Something else. Displacement of air. Space folding. Accelerator was on his feet before the echo faded. His gaze swept the warehouse, found the source. An old man stood 20 feet away. Tall, thin, long silver hair and beard. Robes that looked like they belonged in a museum. Half-moon spectacles catching the light. And those eyes. Blue. Clear, the kind that had witnessed empires rise and fall. The old man raised both hands. Empty. No wand visible. Peace. I come only to talk. You people keep saying that right before you try something. A fair observation given your recent experiences. May I sit? These old bones appreciate rest when possible. Accelerator said nothing, just calculated distances. Exit routes, how fast the old man could cast if this turned hostile. The old man conjured a chair, not pulled from somewhere, created. Wood forming from air with a gesture. He settled into it with a sigh. My name is Albus Dumbledore, headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And before you ask, no, I am not here on behalf of the ministry. Then what do you want? To offer you sanctuary, temporarily. Accelerator's expression didn't change, but his mind raced. Sanctuary meant walls. Walls meant cage. Not interested. The ministry is drafting legislation as we speak. By noon today, you will be classified as a dangerous magical creature. Subject to immediate detention. Use of force authorized. Let them try. They will. And you will defend yourself. People will be hurt. Perhaps killed. The situation will escalate until it becomes irreversible. Dumbledore leaned forward slightly. I have seen this pattern before. Power meets institution. Institution feels threatened. Good people die because no one offered a third option. So you're offering to lock me in your school instead. Different cage, same result. No. I am offering you time. Space to determine your own path. Hogwarts is large, remote. The ministry has limited jurisdiction there. Accelerator studied the old man, searching for the angle. Everyone had one. What do you get out of this? The satisfaction of preventing unnecessary bloodshed. Bullshit. Nobody helps for free. Dumbledore's expression remained gentle. But something shifted behind those blue eyes. Recognition, perhaps, of someone who'd learned trust was a liability. You are correct. I do have a reason. A war is coming. Has already begun, in truth. A dark wizard named Voldemort seeks to remake our world according to his vision. Control, purity, absolute power. And you want me to fight for you? No. The word came flat, final. I do not recruit weapons. I protect students. If this Voldemort targets you because he sees you as a threat, I would prefer you survive the encounter. That is all. Accelerator narrowed his gaze. Testing. What if I decide to leave? Just walk out of your school. Then you leave. Hogwarts is not a prison. The Ministry won't see it that way. The Ministry does not dictate what happens within Hogwarts. Not while I draw breath. Something in the old man's voice shifted. Steel underneath velvet. The tone of someone who'd held lines before. Accelerator considered. His battery sat at 8%. The Ministry was mobilizing. This world's rules were alien. Unknown variables everywhere. But this old man, he spoke differently. Not like the bureaucrats, not like the interrogators, like someone who understood what it meant to carry power and choose restraint. How long? As long as you need. Days, weeks, until you find your way home, if such a path exists. And if I break your rules, I would ask that you not harm students. Beyond that, Hogwarts has survived worse than rule-breaking. Accelerator crossed the warehouse floor, stopped 5 feet from Dumbledore, close enough to see the lines around the old man's eyes, the weight of decades. One condition. Name it. I'm not your weapon, not your student, not your pawn. I stay until I figure out how to get home. That's it. Agreed. No hesitation, no negotiation, just acceptance. Dumbledore stood, extended his arm. Sighed a long apparition. I must warn you, it feels rather like being pulled through a very tight tube. Quite unpleasant for first-timers. I'll walk. Hogwarts is in Scotland, several hundred miles north. Then make a portal, or whatever you call it. Dumbledore's eyebrows rose. Slight amusement. Port keys are regulated. Creating unauthorized ones tends to attract attention. But he produced his wand, a simple gesture. The air rippled. A doorway opened, not physical, just a gap where space folded wrong. Through it, Accelerator glimpsed stone corridors, torchlight, the smell of old castles. After you. Accelerator examined the portal. Some kind of spatial manipulation, different from Academy City's teleportation, less mathematical, more willful. He strode through. The transition felt like stepping through a waterfall. Pressure, displacement. Then solid ground. Hogwarts. The corridor stretched ahead. Stone walls, moving paintings, suits of armor that might have been decorative or might have been something else. Magic saturated the place, not like the Ministry's sterile containment. This felt alive, ancient, built up over centuries. Dumbledore emerged behind him. The portal sealed without sound. Welcome to Hogwarts. These are the staff quarters. Students are in class currently, but we should move to somewhere more discreet. They proceeded through corridors that shifted, staircases that changed destinations mid-climb, architecture that defied logic. Accelerator cataloged every oddity, filed them away, tried to map the space, and gave up after the third impossible junction. This place wasn't built. It had grown, evolved, like an organism. They reached a gargoyle statue. Dumbledore spoke a password, something about sweets, and it sprang aside. A spiral staircase ascended. The office at the top was controlled chaos, books everywhere, strange instruments whirring and clicking. A perch where a magnificent bird sat observing with intelligent eyes. Portraits lined the walls. People in fancy dress who turned to stare at the newcomer. The portraits were alive, actually aware, whispering to each other. "Please sit. Tea." "No." Dumbledore poured himself a cup anyway, settled behind his desk. "Now then, we should discuss practicalities. You cannot wander the school freely. Students would notice, ask questions. For the moment, I can arrange quarters in the unused wing. Food will be brought. If you require anything, information about that dimensional breach, how to reverse it, I will contact the unspeakable who reported the incident. Discreetly. They owe me a favor or two." A knock at the door interrupted them. Dumbledore's expression shifted. Subtle annoyance. "Enter." A man swept in, black robes billowing, dark hair hanging lank, expression caught between permanent sneer and professional neutrality. His gaze landed on Accelerator, froze. "Headmaster, the ministry just sent an urgent—" He stopped, reassessed. White hair, red eyes. "You brought it here." "It. Severus. This is our guest. He will be staying in the unused wing for the time being. The ministry has classified him as a dangerous entity. Use of force authorized. And you've brought him into a school full of children." Severus Snape's voice carried acid. His hand had drifted toward his wand. Accelerator remained seated. But his attention sharpened. Threat assessment automatic. "The ministry," Dumbledore said gently, "classifies many things incorrectly. Werewolves, half-giants, muggle-borns in certain eras. I prefer to make my own assessments. Your assessment could get students killed. I don't kill kids." Both men turned to Accelerator. He hadn't raised his voice, hadn't stood, just stated fact. "I've done a lot of bad shit, but I don't hurt children. Not anymore." Snape's expression flickered. Something passed behind those dark eyes, recognition of a specific kind of guilt. "How reassuring. The creature promises not to murder students." But the venom had lessened, slightly. "Severus, I need you to trust me on this. Our guest poses less danger than what's coming. And if the ministry corners him, people will die. Many people. The Dark Lord will hear of this. The ministry is drafting alerts. Word spreads. Yes. Which is why we must move quickly. Can you prepare the East Tower ward supplies, disillusionment for when he must move through the castle?" Snape's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Once. "One condition. He stays away from students. Completely. If I see him near a classroom, fine by me. I didn't come here to babysit." Snape glanced at him, then at Dumbledore. This will not end well. Perhaps. But well was never an option once the ministry opened that door. Snape swept out, robes billowing like theatrical shadows. Dumbledore sighed, suddenly sounded very old. "Severus is complicated, but loyal, and correct that word will spread. Voldemort's intelligence network is extensive. Let him come. I'm not hiding. I hope it does not come to that. Tom is dangerous in ways you may not yet comprehend." Tom, Voldemort's birth name. Tom Riddle. I knew him as a student, brilliant, charismatic, and utterly consumed by the belief that power equaled immortality. Dumbledore crossed to the window, gazed out over the grounds. He has split his soul multiple times, made himself nearly unkillable through dark magic most wizards would not dare attempt. When he learns of you a power he cannot classify, cannot control, he will seek to either bind you or destroy you. People keep trying that. Hasn't worked yet. Perhaps. But Tom does not fight fair. He strikes at what people care about, uses hostages, torture, psychological warfare. Accelerator said nothing, but his expression hardened. Academy City had used similar tactics, threatened last order, manipulated through leverage. The people who'd tried that learned fast. You don't threaten what someone has chosen to protect. You just get erased. If this Voldemort comes, he'll regret it. Not a boast. Simple calculation. Dumbledore turned back. His eyes held something complex. Sadness, maybe, or recognition of someone walking a familiar path. I believe you, which is precisely what concerns me. Before Accelerator could respond, footsteps echoed from below. Quick, multiple people. Dumbledore raised a hand. Wait. The door burst open. 3 students, 2 boys, 1 girl, robes disheveled. The girl carried a bag overflowing with books. They froze at the sight of Accelerator. The darker-haired boy with glasses spoke first. Professor, we need to... He stopped, really seeing the white-haired stranger. Mr. Potter, Miss Granger, Mr. Weasley. I believe I mentioned office hours are by appointment. Dumbledore's voice carried gentle reproof, but his body language had shifted. Protective, positioned between Accelerator and the students. The girl Granger stared at Accelerator with unabashed curiosity. You're the one from the ministry. The report said... Hermione, Potter said quietly. Warning. Perhaps we should discuss this later, in private. Dumbledore's tone suggested it wasn't a suggestion. Potter nodded, but his eyes never left Accelerator. Green eyes, wary but not hostile, assessing. Accelerator met the gaze, held it, neither aggressive nor submissive. Just 2 people who'd learned to read threat levels fast. We'll come back later, Professor. The 3 retreated, Hermione casting glances back, Ron pulling her along, Potter moving last, keeping himself between his friends and the stranger. The door closed. That was Harry Potter, Dumbledore said. The boy Voldemort failed to kill. The reason Tom's first rise ended. He's got good instincts. Shielded his friends without thinking. Yes, though I wish he did not need to develop such instincts so young. Silence settled, heavy with implications. Those kids are in danger. Because of your war. Yes, and you're keeping them here anyway. Hogwarts is the safest place for them. Safer than their homes. Safer than running. Safe is relative when war comes knocking. Indeed. Which is why I hope should events spiral beyond control, that you might remember what you told Professor Snape. Accelerator understood. The old man wasn't asking him to fight. He was asking him not to let children die while he stood by. If shooting starts near kids, I'll stop it. That's all you're getting. That is more than sufficient. Dumbledore's expression held something close to relief. Come. Severus should have the tower prepared by now. They descended the spiral stairs, traversed more impossible corridors, climbed to a section of the castle that felt abandoned, dust thick on railings, portraits sleeping in their frames. A door opened at Dumbledore's touch, revealed a space that was part dormitory, part safe house. Bed, desk, window overlooking grounds, bathroom through a side door. Simple, functional, isolated. Meals will arrive 3 times daily. If you need anything, tap the mirror there 3 times. Someone will respond. And the catch? No catch. Though I would appreciate advance notice before you leave the tower. The disillusionment charm only works if applied properly. Accelerator scanned the room one more time. No obvious traps. No wards he could sense. Just space. Why are you doing this? The question came out before he could stop it. Dumbledore paused at the door. Because I have seen what happens when power is met with fear instead of understanding. Because you remind me of someone I failed long ago. And because... He smiled. Sad, knowing. Because weapons do not choose to protect children. People do. The door closed. Soft click. Accelerator stood alone in the tower room. Hogwarts settling around him, like an ancient beast, choosing to tolerate his presence. Outside night descended over Scotland. In the forest beyond the grounds, something stirred. Death Eaters moving into position. Reconnaissance. Word had spread fast, the Ministry's mysterious entity. Now sheltered by Dumbledore, Voldemort would want to know more. And what the Dark Lord wanted, he took. They came at midnight. No warning, no demand for surrender. Just the crack of apparition near the edge of Hogwarts grounds where the anti-apparition wards thinned. 6 Death Eaters, black robes, silver masks, wands already drawn. Bellatrix Lestrange led them. Accelerator felt the displacement from his tower window, the way space bent when people forced themselves through it. Different from Academy City's teleportation. Cruder, louder. He'd been awake. Battery recharged to 30% through pure rest. The choker pulsed steady, green, ready. Footsteps in the corridor outside. Running, urgent. His door burst open. No knock. Snape, wand drawn, expression caught between fury and calculation. Death Eaters, grounds. They're asking for you specifically. How many? 6 confirmed. Bellatrix commands. She's unhinged but effective. Students? Being evacuated to the Great Hall. Wards active. But if fighting reaches the castle, it won't. Accelerator pushed past Snape, into the corridor. Wait. Dumbledore is mobilizing the order. We should coordinate. No time. They came for me. I'll give them what they want. He descended the tower stairs, 3 at a time. Snape following, trying to keep pace. You're walking into a trap. Obviously. Then why? Because if I don't, they'll escalate. Start throwing curses at the castle, at students. Better to end it fast. They reached the main entrance. The massive oak doors stood open. Beyond the grounds stretched dark. Moonlight caught on the lake. The forbidden forest loomed. 6 figures stood in formation, 50 meters out, wands raised, waiting. The woman in front wore no mask, wild dark hair, eyes that gleamed with manic energy. Her lips curved into a smile that belonged on something rabid. There you are, the little anomaly. The Ministry's lost pet. Bellatrix's voice carried, high, delighted, like Christmas morning and execution day combined. Accelerator advanced, unhurried, hands in pockets. Every step calculated. You got a death wish, or you just stupid? Oh, he speaks, and so rude. Doesn't anyone teach manners in your world? She cocked her head, bird-like, predatory. Our Lord is very curious about you, wants to meet you, have a nice chat. Maybe you'd like to come with us voluntarily. Pass. Pity, I was hoping you'd say that. Her wand snapped up. Crucio. The curse came fast. Red light. Malicious intent crystallized. Accelerator tilted his head. 6 inches. The curse missed. scorched grass where he'd been standing. Stupefy incarcerus confringo. 5 more Death Eaters cast simultaneously. Coordinated assault. Different angles, different spell types. The stunning spell curved left. Hit a tree. Bark exploded. The binding ropes twisted, formed a helix, fell to earth. The blasting curse veered up, detonated harmlessly in air. Bellatrix's smile widened. Oh, you're going to be fun. Fan out, alternating fire. Don't let him predict the patterns. The Death Eaters dispersed. 3 left, 3 right, creating crossfire angles. Smart, experienced. They'd fought battles before. Didn't matter. The barrage began. 12 spells in 3 seconds. Red, green, purple, white. Different colors, different effects. All converging. Accelerator didn't dodge. The spells hit invisible barriers, scattered. Like light through broken glass, every vector redirected, every trajectory bent. One curse boomeranged, nearly hit its caster. The Death Eater dove, swore. He's reflecting, don't cast directly at him. Then aim for the ground, the air, make him dodge. Bellatrix cackled, adjusted tactics mid-fight. Bombarda, she aimed at the ground 10 feet from Accelerator. The explosion threw debris, dirt, stones, shrapnel without clear trajectory. The debris cloud approached, then stopped, hung in air, every piece suspended. Accelerator gestured, casual. The debris reversed, shot back at the Death Eaters, faster, harder. They conjured shields, deflected most of it. But one took a rock to the shoulder, spun, fell. Interesting Rodolphus, the flanking maneuver. 2 Death Eaters vanished. Disillusionment. Accelerator tracked them anyway. Their footsteps, the displacement of air, heat signatures. They circled. Trying for his blind spot. He had no blind spots. The invisible Death Eater cast. Sectum Sempra. Cutting curse. Aimed for the back. Accelerator shifted. Minimal movement. The curse passed through empty space. Scored the earth. His hand shot out, grabbed air, found the invisible man's wrist. Touched. The Death Eater's hand went numb. Wand clattered. The disillusionment broke. He staggered back, clutching dead fingers. Avada Kedavra, green light. The killing curse. Unblockable by normal means. Bellatrix hadn't aimed at Accelerator. She'd aimed past him, at the castle entrance, where Snape stood. Accelerator's hand moved, touched the wind. A gust slammed into the curse. Didn't stop it. Didn't reflect it. Just pushed. Bent its trajectory. Inches. The green light missed Snape by a hair. Hit stone. The wall cracked, blackened. Bellatrix's eyes widened. Genuine surprise. You deflected it. Nobody deflects the killing curse. What are you, done playing? Accelerator's voice had dropped. Colder. The choker pulsed. 25%. He'd been conserving, testing them. Now he knew their patterns, their tactics, their limits. Time to end it. He touched the ground. The earth rippled, like water. Cracks raced outward. Not random. Targeted. Each fissure aimed at a Death Eater's position. They scrambled, lost footing. 2 went down. The ground beneath them tilted. Threw them off balance. Accelerator gestured. Palm up. Wind gathered, compressed. Formed a sphere of rotating air, visible as distortion, growing. Protego Maxima. 3 Death Eaters combined shields, overlapping, reinforced. Accelerator released the wind sphere. It hit the shield wall, didn't break through. just kept pushing, grinding. The Death Eaters slid backward, feet carving trenches in dirt, their shields cracked, splintered, held by will alone. Bellatrix screamed. Not terror, exhilaration. Yes, this is what the Dark Lord needs. Raw power, beautiful destruction. She cast sideways. Not at Accelerator, at the forbidden forest. Mors Mordre. Green light erupted, shot skyward, formed a skull, a serpent emerging from its mouth. The dark mark, signal, message, declaration, retreat. We have what we came for. The Death Eaters disapparated, one by one, cracks echoing. Bellatrix last, still laughing. See you soon. Pet the Dark Lord sends his regards. Gone. The grounds fell silent. Smoke drifted, earth torn, scorch marks everywhere. Accelerator released the wind. Let it dissipate. His breathing steady. Choker at 20%. Snape approached. Wand still drawn. Expression unreadable. You saved my life. You were in the way. Regardless, Thank you. The words came difficult, forced through pride. Accelerator shrugged. They were gathering data, testing my limits, speed, range, how I handle multiple attackers. Bellatrix is insane but not stupid. She learned what she needed and withdrew, which means they'll be back with better tactics, probably something I haven't seen before. Footsteps behind them. Dumbledore, moving fast despite his age, several Order members trailing. What happened? The wards registered combat. Dumbledore stopped. Took in the devastation, the dark mark floating above, the torn earth. 6 Death Eaters, led by Bellatrix, they came for reconnaissance. Snape's report, clinical, professional. Casualties? None. They retreated after gathering intel. Dumbledore's gaze found Accelerator. Searching. Are you hurt? No. They used the killing curse. Yeah, didn't work. He deflected it, changed its trajectory mid-flight. I've never seen anything like it. Snape's voice held something close to awe, buried under professional detachment. One of the Order members, a witch with graying hair, spoke up. The Dark Mark. Voldemort knows where he is now. This was deliberate provocation. Indeed. Tom is testing, probing for weakness. Dumbledore's expression had hardened, the grandfatherly warmth replaced by strategic calculation. We need to increase patrols, reinforce the wards, perhaps contact the Ministry. The Ministry classified him as a threat. They won't help defend him. Snape, always practical. Then we defend ourselves. Alastair organize rotating watch. Kingsley coordinate with the Aurors who aren't under Umbridge's thumb. Minerva. I don't need guards. Accelerator's voice cut through the planning. Flat. Final. They'll come back. Let them. I'll handle it. This isn't your fight alone. Yeah, it is. They came for me. I'm the target. Putting your people in the crossfire just gets them killed. We've faced Voldemort before. We know the risks. Have you faced someone who bends your own spells back at you? Who can touch the air and make it a weapon? Who doesn't play by any rule you know? Silence. The Order members exchanged glances. That's what I thought. Stay out of my way. Protect the students. Let me deal with your Dark Lord's people. He turned, headed back toward the castle. Wait. Dumbledore's voice. Not commanding, requesting. Accelerator paused. Didn't turn. You deflected the killing curse. saved Severus, drove off 6 trained Death Eaters without killing any of them. Why? I told you, I don't kill if I don't have to. But you could have, easily. Yeah. Then you're choosing restraint, despite what was done to you, despite your power. Accelerator's shoulders tightened. Don't psychoanalyze me, old man. I've got my reasons. They're mine. He continued into the castle, the doors closing behind him. The Order stood in the torn grounds, processing. That boy is dangerous. The gray-haired witch, stating the obvious. Yes, but not to us. Not yet. Perhaps not ever. Dumbledore gazed at the dark mark, still glowing green against the night sky. Tom has made a critical error. He thinks power can be measured, classified, controlled. But that boy, Snape finished the thought, doesn't fit any category we have, and the Dark Lord hates what he cannot categorize. Precisely. Which means this was never about recruitment. This was Tom asserting dominance, showing he can strike when he wishes. But it didn't work. No, and that will infuriate him. Next time he won't send Bellatrix. He'll come himself. The words hung in cold air. Inside the castle, students huddled in the great hall, whispers spreading. The dark mark had been seen. Death Eaters at Hogwarts. Harry Potter stood by a window, watching the grounds. He'd seen the white-haired boy earlier. Brief glimpse. Now everyone was talking about the mysterious fighter who'd driven off Death Eaters alone. Hermione appeared at his elbow, book already open. Research mode activated. There's no magical signature, no wand. The spells just redirect. It's not dark magic, not light magic. It's something else entirely. Maybe that's why Dumbledore's hiding him here. Ron. Practical as always. Something Voldemort can't understand, can't control. Harry said nothing, just remembered those strange eyes, that absolute calm, the way the boy had positioned himself between threat and target without hesitation. Whoever he was, Harry thought he wasn't an enemy. Not yet. In the tower room, Accelerator sat by the window. Choker at 18% now. The fight had drained more than expected. Multiple vectors, continuous calculation. But he'd learned something valuable. The killing curse had a trajectory, a vector, which meant it could be influenced. Not blocked. Not reflected, but nudged, bent. Their so-called unblockable curse was just physics they didn't understand. Everything had a vector. Everything could be controlled. Outside, the dark mark faded, dissolved into night. But its message remained clear. War was coming to Hogwarts, and Voldemort had just declared his interest in the boy who didn't fit. 3 days passed. Quiet days. Tense, like air before lightning. Accelerator stayed in the tower, conserving battery. The power bank Snape had provided kept the choker at 40%. Not ideal, but functional. Below the castle continued. Classes, meals, students whispering about the dark mark, about the mysterious fighter, rumors spreading like infection. The Order increased patrols. Dumbledore reinforced wards, everyone waiting for the next move. It came at dawn. Not outside, inside. The explosion woke half the castle, deep in the dungeons, where the Slytherin dormitories connected to forgotten passages. Accelerator felt the shockwave, stone trembling, heat rising through ancient corridors. Heat had direction. Screams had rhythm. Both pointed down. Then the full sound hit raw panic. He was moving before conscious thought. Out the door, downstairs, toward the sound. Students flooded the corridors, panicked, teachers trying to maintain order. The smell of smoke thick, acrid. McGonagall appeared. Wand directing students away from the dungeons. Fiend fire, someone's unleashed fiend fire in the lower levels. Students still down there. Accelerator. Voice cutting through chaos. McGonagall spun. Recognition, then calculation. 3 first years, trapped. Professor Snape went after them, but heat pulsed from the stairwell. Unnatural. Alive. Which way? You can't, it's cursed fire. It hunts, thinks. Normal water won't stop it. Only a caster skilled enough to... Which way? McGonagall pointed. Accelerator descended. The heat hit like a wall. Temperatures spiking with each step. Stone sweating, air shimmering. Then he saw it. Fiend fire, not fire. Something wearing fire's shape. It moved through the corridor like living hunger. Serpents of flame, lions, dragons, each form shifting, hunting. The flames consumed everything. Stone blackening. Tapestries ash before they could burn. Metal melting. And in the center, a figure, robed, masked, wand raised. He wasn't controlling it. He was steering the first wave, praying it would do the rest. Sweat visible even through the robes. Death Eater. Behind a crumbling wall, Snape crouched. 3 students huddled against him. First years, terrified. The potions master's wand traced patterns. Shields, barely holding. The fiend fire sensed them. Shifted. A serpent head formed. Reared back. Accelerator calculated. Distance. Heat distribution. Oxygen levels. The fire moved with intent. Not random. Guided. Which meant it had vectors. He touched the wall. Ripped a chunk free. Stone the size of a fist. Threw it. Not at the fire. At the Death Eater. The masked figure turned. Wand slashed. Shield charm. The stone hit. Cracked the shield. Kept going. Clipped the Death Eater's shoulder. Spun him. The fiend fire wavered. Lost cohesion for a heartbeat. Run now. Snape didn't hesitate. Grabbed 2 students. Levitated the third. Bolted for the stairs. The Death Eater recovered. Fury in every movement. You dare, you wandless mudblood thing. The Dark Lord's gift will consume you. The fiend fire surged. All subtlety gone. Pure aggression. The serpent struck. Accelerator raised his hand. The flames hit invisible resistance, not reflection. The fire didn't bounce. It just stopped. Held 3 feet away. Heat washed over him. Intense. The choker pulsed. 38%. Calculation strain visible. This wasn't normal fire. The magic woven through it made vectors unstable, constantly shifting, like trying to grab smoke. But smoke still had density, temperature, movement. Everything had vectors. Accelerator shifted focus, not the flames themselves, the air around them, the oxygen feeding them. He compressed. Wind rushed inward, from all directions, creating a sphere of void. No oxygen, no fuel. The fiend fire writhed, diminished, but didn't die. Magic sustained it beyond normal combustion. It didn't kill the fire, it stole its reach, trapped the hunger before it could spread. The Death Eater laughed. It won't die. You can't kill cursed fire with parlor tricks. Keep that purity talk? It's usually what cowards hide behind. Accelerator's jaw tightened. 35%. The void took constant effort. His brain calculating pressure differentials, maintaining the sphere. Fine. If he couldn't kill it, he'd cage it. He pushed. The compressed air became denser, harder, a shell. The fiend fire raged inside, beating against invisible walls, unable to expand, unable to hunt. 32%. The Death Eater's confidence cracked. What? How are you? Science. Ever heard of it? Accelerator's free hand gestured. The floor beneath the Death Eater buckled, tilted. The masked figure stumbled, lost concentration. The fiend fire surged, no longer controlled. It lashed at everything, including its summoner. The Death Eater screamed, disapparated, gone, leaving the fire. Uncontrolled fiend fire, the worst kind. It would burn until nothing remained. 28%. He could feel the limiter whining in his skull. One more push and he'd have to use the thing he hated. The wings, the cost. Accelerator's arms shook, the strain mounting. The air cage held, but the fire inside grew hotter, angrier, testing boundaries. He couldn't maintain this forever. Battery draining. The calculations too complex, too many variables. Behind him, footsteps. Dumbledore. Wand raised. The old man's expression grave. Hold it still. I can extinguish fiend fire, but I need time. How long? 2 minutes. Make it 1. Dumbledore began to cast. Complex, layered. Not a single spell. A symphony. Silver-blue runes formed in the air. Containment wards. Ancient binding magic that divided and conquered. The fiend fire sensed the threat. Redoubled its assault. Shapes forming. Creatures. All teeth and claws. And hunger. 25%. The cage shuddered. Cracks appearing in the compression. Not physical cracks. Gaps in calculation. The fire finding weaknesses. Accelerator gritted his teeth. Pushed harder, his brain burning through processing power. The Masaka network struggling to keep up. A tendril of flame broke through, lashed at him. He deflected. Barely. The heat seared close. Too close. 20%. Dumbledore's casting intensified. Light building around the runes. Almost. There. The fiend fire exploded outward. Full force. Every ounce of malevolent will. Accelerator's cage collapsed. For a heartbeat, the fire was free. He made a choice. The black wings erupted. Not physical. Not real in any material sense, but present, manifested. Dark energy coiling from his back. 2 massive projections of pure vector manipulation. The temperature dropped. Not from cold, from absence. The wings created dead zones, spaces where heat couldn't exist. The fiend fire recoiled, for the first time uncertain. Accelerator swept the wings forward. They passed through the flames, not burning, not harming, just negating. Each touch unraveling the magic, holding the fire together. 15%. 10. Dumbledore released the binding. The runes tightened. Each section of cursed fire pulled into separate voids, banished, sealed, contained in spaces between spaces. The fiend fire shattered, like glass. Fragments of cursed flame dissipating into nothing, silence. The corridor smoldered, blackened, half melted, but intact. No students burned. No castle collapsed. Accelerator's wings faded, dissolved. He swayed, caught himself against the wall. 8%. Dumbledore's hand steadied him, gentle. The old man's breathing labored. What was that? Those wings? Emergency mode. Costs too much. The students, safe. Snape got them out. Dumbledore nodded, then examined the destruction, the melted stone, the warped metal, the sheer scale of damage. The Ministry will use this. The damage? They'll say you're too dangerous to shelter. I didn't start the fire. Truth rarely matters in politics, only optics. Footsteps above. Multiple people. The order arriving, students being kept back. They saw the wings, some of them. Word will spread. Dumbledore's voice held resignation. Let it. Accelerator pushed off the wall, unsteady, but upright. I'm not hiding what I can do. That's how people get control, making you ashamed, making you small. A philosophy born from hard experience, I suspect. The hardest. They climbed the stairs together, slow, both drained. At the top, McGonagall waited. Behind her, the three students, soot-covered, shaken, alive. One of them, a small girl, maybe 11, broke free. Ran to Accelerator. Thank you. You saved us. Professor Snape said you came into the fire. She stopped, seeing him up close. The white hair, the strange coloring, the exhaustion. Accelerator knelt, eye level. You okay? She nodded, tears starting. Good. Stay away from dungeons for a while. He stood, continued past McGonagall, past the gathered Order members, past the stairs, back to the tower, back to isolation, battery at 7%. He'd need hours to recharge, hours of vulnerability. Worth it. 3 kids alive. That was the equation that mattered. In London, the Ministry received reports. Fiend fire at Hogwarts. Massive structural damage. The anomaly deploying unknown dark abilities. Dolores Umbridge read with satisfaction. Evidence, ammunition, justification. She drafted new legislation. Educational Decree Number 31, emergency detention and transfer of non-human threats. By evening it would pass. By morning Aurors would arrive at Hogwarts with arrest warrants. Legal, proper, inevitable. In the Forbidden Forest, Voldemort received his report. The Death Eater knelt, robes singed, mask cracked. My lord, I failed. The fiend fire was contained. Dumbledore assisted, but the anomaly had manifested something. Dark wings. Power unlike any I've witnessed. His collar flickered red, then dim. He staggered when it dipped. A limit. Observable. Voldemort's serpentine features remained impassive. You did not fail. You gathered precisely what I required. My lord, information, limits. The creature has a battery, a source. Drain it sufficiently and he becomes manageable. Red slits gleamed in darkness. Next time we do not engage directly. We simply exhaust his reserves, then strike. When my lord turned, Voldemort's thin lips curved, not quite a smile. Soon, the Ministry is moving against Dumbledore. When they fracture his protection, we move. And this time, he paused, savoring the decision. I come myself. The Aurors arrived at noon. 12 of them. Full tactical formation. Dawlish leading. Wands holstered but visible. Ministry robes pressed. Professional. Behind them Dolores Umbridge. Pink cardigan. Sweet smile. Clipboard clutched like a weapon. Dumbledore met them at the gates. McGonagall flanking. Snape observing from the castle entrance. Albus, how lovely to see you. Umbridge's voice carried false warmth, poison wrapped in courtesy. Dolores, this is unexpected. Is it, after the incident 3 days ago, fiend fire in a school full of children, structural damage, dark manifestations witnessed by students? She consulted her clipboard. Every word precise, rehearsed. The ministry has passed Educational Decree 31. Emergency detention and transfer of non-human threats. We're here to take custody of the entity you're harboring. He is a guest, not a prisoner. Guest. Umbridge's smile widened. Saccharine. Guests don't destroy ministry property. Don't assault aurors. Don't unleash dark magic in educational facilities. This thing has caused millions of galleons in damage. Injured personnel. Endangered students. He saved those students. The Death Eater who cast fiend fire is your concern, not the one who stopped it. McGonagall. Voice sharp. Controlled fury. Intent is irrelevant. Results matter. The decree is law. Properly passed. Properly signed. If you refuse to comply, Headmaster will be forced to escalate. Escalate to what's storming Hogwarts, if necessary. Though I'd prefer cooperation, so much cleaner. Dumbledore studied her, calculating. The auras behind her shifted. Uncomfortable. They knew what they were being asked to do. You realize what you're threatening. Hogwarts has autonomy, guaranteed by charter. The ministry cannot simply can and will. The Wizengamot voted. 83 to 17, public safety supersedes institutional autonomy. It's all quite legal, Albus. She produced a document, official seals, signatures. You have 1 hour to produce the entity. If you don't, we'll search the castle. Every room, every corridor, every student will be questioned under Veritaserum if necessary. You wouldn't dare try me, Minerva. The sweetness dropped. For 1 second, Umbridge's real face showed. Cold, calculating, vicious. 1 hour, then we come in. She turned. Auras followed. They set up a perimeter, waited. Dumbledore and McGonagall retreated to the castle. She's serious. They'll actually do it. McGonagall's voice held disbelief. Yes, this is Fudge's play. Remove me, discredit Hogwarts, gain leverage against anything that threatens ministry control. And if we fight? Civil war, horrors against professors. Students caught between, Voldemort watching, waiting, ready to exploit the chaos. Then what do? We ask him. They found Accelerator in the tower, battery at 43%. He'd been charging, preparing. You heard Dumbledore's question. Yeah. Pink Lady, lots of papers, threats about searching students. She means it. The ministry has authorized force. So let them come, I'll handle it. And if they use students as leverage, question them, threaten expulsion, Umbridge specializes in legal cruelty. She won't fight you directly. She'll make others pay. Accelerator's expression hardened. You're saying I should surrender? Let them lock me up. I'm saying you have a choice. Fight here now with students in the crossfire. Or buy time, let me work the political angle. How long? Days, maybe a week. The Wizengamot can be pressured. Public opinion shifted. But I need time. And while I'm locked up, what stops Voldemort from hitting the castle? Silence. Dumbledore had no good answer. He will strike. Tom knows you're vulnerable when contained. He'll use the opportunity. Then the kids are screwed either way. If I stay, ministry goons interrogate students. If I go, Death Eaters attack. Not if we prepare. The order can hold. Wards can be strengthened. We've defended against worse. Without me? Yes. Accelerator crossed to the window. The aurors visible below. Perimeter tight. You know what they'll do. Ministry custody, experiments, tests. They'll try to weaponize me. I won't let that happen. You can't stop them. You're operating in their system. They make the rules. Then help me break them. Dumbledore's voice held urgency. Rare. If you fight now, you prove their narrative. Dangerous. Uncontrollable. They'll rally public support. Declare martial law. Occupy Hogwarts permanently. But if you submit temporarily, you show restraint. Humanity. It undermines their argument. You want me to be a political prop. I want you to survive, to return, to help when it truly matters. Accelerator's jaw tightened. Academy City had played similar games. Forced compliance, conditional freedom. He'd sworn never again. But Academy City hadn't had kids in the crossfire. 3 days. You get 3 days to fix this politically. After that, I break out. Deal or no deal? 3 days, agreed. And if Voldemort hits the castle while I'm gone, then I'll handle it. Dumbledore's certainty rang hollow. They both knew it. Accelerator unplugged the choker. 43%. Would have to do. Let's get this over with. They descended together. Through corridors lined with staring students. Word had spread, everyone watching. Harry stood with Hermione and Ron, silent, witnessing. At the gates, Umbridge waited, satisfaction poorly hidden. How wise of you, Albus. Cooperation is always preferable. She gestured. 2 aurors approached. Magic-suppressing cuffs ready. Those won't work on me. Accelerator's voice flat. Protocol requires restraints during transport. Try them. See what happens. The aurors hesitated. They'd read the reports, seen the aftermath. Umbridge's smile tightened. Very well. But any resistance during transport will be met with immediate force. Understood? Crystal. They formed up, Accelerator in the center, 6 aurors surrounding, wands drawn, tense. Dumbledore spoke one last time. 3 days, I'll make them count. Accelerator nodded. Once. Umbridge raised her wand. The group disapparated. Gone. McGonagall turned to Dumbledore, fury barely contained. We just handed him over. To her. We bought time. Now we use it. And if Voldemort strikes before 3 days, Dumbledore's expression showed the weight. Then we face him alone. In the Ministry detention level, Accelerator materialized. The aurors immediately established perimeter. Professional. Cautious. The cell was designed for dangerous beings. Reinforced walls, warded heavily. Single window barred. Umbridge supervised personally. Comfortable, I do hope so. The minister will want to speak with you tomorrow, after you've had time to reflect. Whatever. Such rudeness. But then what else can one expect from a creature? She departed. Locks engaging, wards humming. Accelerator examined the cell. Calculated. The wards were complex, layered, probably keyed to detect magical escape. Good thing he didn't use magic. 3 days. He'd honor that. Barely. But if Dumbledore failed, if the Ministry tried anything, if word came that Hogwarts was under attack, these walls wouldn't hold him. Nothing would. At Hogwarts, students whispered. Professors held emergency meetings. The Order mobilized. Harry found Dumbledore in his office. Late evening. You let them take him. Why? Because fighting would have cost more than surrendering. Sometimes, Harry, we must lose battles to win wars. But he saved us. Saved those kids from the fire. And they arrested him for it. Yes. The ministry specializes in punishing the inconvenient. But this isn't over. What happens now? Now, I play politics, and we prepare. Because when he returns, and he will return, Voldemort will be waiting. In the Forbidden Forest, Voldemort received word. The anomaly detained, isolated, vulnerable, perfect. Bellatrix. She appeared, eager, manic energy barely contained. My lord, gather the inner circle, full strength. We strike tomorrow night. The school, my lord. No, the Department of Mysteries. We take what we came for. The prophecy. And we remove Dumbledore's weapon before it can be deployed against us. Bellatrix's smile widened. Feral. The mud-blood thing in ministry custody. Shall we visit if the opportunity presents? But the prophecy takes priority. Everything else is secondary. As you command, my lord. She vanished, leaving Voldemort alone with his planning. The pieces moved. Ministry, order, Death Eaters, all converging. And in a cell below London, Accelerator waited, counting down 3 days. Then all bets were off. Day 2 of detention. Accelerator sat in the ministry cell, battery at 58%. The power bank Snape had provided recharged slowly. Too slowly. The wards hummed. Constant. Monitoring, recording. Fudge had visited once. Umbridge twice. Questions, threats, legal language masking intent. They wanted control, compliance, a weapon they could aim. He'd given them silence. The alarm changed everything. Not the cell ward. The ministry's main security. Deep, urgent, battle stations. Accelerator crossed to the door, listened. Footsteps, running, shouting. Level 9 breach Department of Mysteries, all aurors respond. Level 9, bottom of the ministry, where they kept the dangerous research. Death Eaters. Voldemort had moved faster than expected. While Accelerator was locked away, while Hogwarts was vulnerable. The 3-day deal suddenly felt very stupid. He touched the cell door, felt the ward structure, complex, layered, keyed to magical signatures. Good thing he didn't have one. Accelerator calculated vectors. The door's physical structure, weak points, stress tolerances. He pushed. The hinges exploded, metal shearing. The door flew off, slammed into the opposite wall. Alarms screamed, backup wards triggered. Red light flooded the corridor. 56%, small cost. 2 aurors rounded the corner, wands up, saw him, hesitated. Prisoner escaping, Section 4 breach. Where's Level 9? Accelerator's voice cut through their panic. You're under arrest. Drop 2. Death Eaters are in your building. Level 9. I can help or I can leave. Your call. The aurors exchanged glances. Training versus reality. More explosions below. Screaming. The sound of combat. Lift. That way. Down. The younger auror pointed. Still uncertain. Accelerator sprinted. Past them. Toward the lifts. Behind him, one auror grabbed his partner. We can't just let him. You want to stop him? After what he did to Fiendfire, let him kill Death Eaters. We'll sort the paperwork later. The lift descended. Too slow. Accelerator calculated. Grabbed the cable. Redirected friction. Free fall. Controlled. The lift plummeted. Level 9. The doors opened. Chaos. The Department of Mysteries was a maze. Circular chamber. 12 doors, each identical, each leading to different research. 3 doors hung open. Battle sounds from within, spells lighting the darkness, bodies, unspeakables in their robes, dead or dying. The Death Eaters had hit hard, fast, no mercy. A spell screamed past. Green, killing curse. Accelerator sidestepped, calculated its path, let it pass. Bellatrix emerged from one door, blood on her robes, manic grin. Well, the mudblood pet. Did you break out to play? Behind her 3 more Death Eaters, wands raised. Where's Voldemort? Busy, collecting. You're just entertainment. She gestured. The Death Eaters attacked. Coordinated, professional. Curses from multiple angles. Cutting, crushing, burning. Accelerator's reflection activated. Automatic. The spells scattered, rebounded. One Death Eater took his own curse, fell, screaming. Bellatrix laughed. Predictable? The Dark Lord said you'd just bounce things back, so we brought alternatives. She disappeared through a doorway. The Hall of Prophecy. Rows of glowing orbs. Thousands. The remaining Death Eaters spread out, flanking, not attacking, herding, trap. Accelerator followed anyway. No choice. Voldemort was here. This ended tonight. The hall stretched impossibly far, shelves towering, each prophecy a frozen moment of precognition. At the far end, Voldemort stood, examining an orb, pale fingers tracing the label. 5 more Death Eaters surrounded him. Elite, not the expendable ones. Anomaly, how punctual. Voldemort didn't turn, just continued studying the prophecy. This attack, timed for when I'm locked up. You wanted me out of the way. Partially, though I suspected you'd escape. You're predictable in that regard. Power doesn't submit. He finally turned, serpentine face, crimson gaze assessing. You reflect magic, manipulate physical forces, impressive, but limited. Everything has a weakness, even you. Get to the point. Magic is more than projectiles, more than force. It's will, intent, reality itself bent to desire. Voldemort gestured. The Death Eaters moved, not attacking, positioning. Bellatrix, the time room. She disappeared through another door. Accelerator's instinct screamed. You can't reflect what has no vector, no direction, no force. Voldemort raised his wand, not pointing at Accelerator, at the room itself. Imperio. The curse hit, not Accelerator, the space around him. Reality hiccuped. The reflection field caught nothing. The Imperio didn't travel, didn't have trajectory. It was already there, saturating, permeating. Accelerator felt pressure, not physical, mental. A will trying to impose, trying to control. He pushed back, his own calculations overwhelming the intent. The curse shattered against consciousness, but it had cost 53%. Voldemort smiled, thin, cold. Fascinating. You resist, but it drains you, your battery, your limit. The Death Eaters began casting, not attack spells, environmental magic. The floor beneath Accelerator liquefied, stone to mud. He adjusted vectors, walked on the surface, water walking principle. The walls started closing, animated, enchanted to crush. He held them, calculated opposing force, pushed back 50%. The air turned toxic, conjured gas, Poison. He created a vacuum sphere around his head. Breathable space. 48%. Not attacking, just attrition, draining you slowly, making you work for every breath, every step. Voldemort's voice held satisfaction. When you hit 20%, you'll hesitate. At 15, you'll make mistakes. At 10, he didn't finish. Didn't need to. Accelerator surged forward. Direct approach. Screw the games. The Death Eaters cast shields, layered, overlapping. He touched the floor, ripped chunks free, accelerated them. Projectiles at hypersonic velocity. The stones punched through shields, through bodies. 2 Death Eaters fell. 45%. Voldemort disapparated. Reappeared 50 feet back, untouchable. The remaining Death Eaters scattered. Guerrilla tactics. Hit and run. Bellatrix returned from the time room, carrying something. A bell jar, glowing. My lord, as requested. Excellent. Anomaly meet temporal magic. Let's see you reflect time itself. She threw the jar. It shattered midair. The effect was immediate. Reality fractured. Accelerator saw himself. Multiple versions, past positions overlapping present. Future echoes bleeding backward. Time wasn't a vector. It was a dimension. His reflection couldn't process it. The calculation spiraled. Contradictory. Impossible. His choker screamed, warning. The Masaka network overloading trying to compute. 38%, 35, 30. The temporal distortion expanded, accelerating. He was aging, de-aging, both, neither. 28%. Fascinating. You're trying to calculate causality itself. It's destroying you. Voldemort advanced, confident. Victory approaching. Accelerator's vision blurred. Past, present, future, all simultaneous. In one timeline, he collapsed. Battery dead. Voldemort won. In another, the Black Wings activated. Tore reality. Everyone died. In a third, he stopped calculating. Just stopped. The temporal distortion needed his participation. His brain trying to process. Without that, it was just chaos. Meaningless. The effect collapsed. Time stabilized. 25%. But functional. Voldemort's confidence flickered. You stopped resisting. Accepted the chaos. Remarkable. Academy City taught me something useful. When you can't win the game, break the board. Accelerator touched the ground. Calculated. Not vectors this time. Pure kinetic distribution. The entire floor exploded upward. Chunks the size of cars. The Hall of Prophecy shattered. Thousands of orbs falling, breaking. Futures unwinding. Chaos. Total. Voldemort disapparated. Self-preservation overriding objective. The Death Eaters scattered. Some disapparating. Others crushed. Bellatrix screamed rage, fired one last curse. Killing curse, aimed perfectly. Accelerator reflected it. Automatic. The green light curved, hit her. She fell. Silent. Just rubble. Broken prophecies, the aftermath. 22%. Accelerator stood, surveyed the destruction. The Department of Mysteries was gone. Wiped. Footsteps, running, Aurors arriving. Too late. Dawlish stopped, stared. The scale beyond comprehension. What? What did you do? Stopped Voldemort. You're welcome. You destroyed this Ministry property research, decades of dead Death Eaters. Count them, then decide what matters. More Aurors poured in. Securing the scene, finding bodies, realizing the scale. and among them, a figure in white robes. Dumbledore, late but present. Their gazes met. Dumbledore's expression unreadable. You broke out. 3 days. Deal was 3 days. It's been 2. And yet you're here, fighting. Voldemort attacked. I responded. That was the deal. Keep kids safe. Bellatrix Lestrange, dead. By your hand. Accelerator nodded. No apology, no regret. She tried to kill me. I reflected it. Her curse, her death. Dumbledore processed, then gestured at the destruction. The Hall of Prophecy. Gone. The time room, compromised. The Ministry will not forgive this. They wanted me to surrender, be their weapon. I chose different. This will have consequences, political, legal. Fudge will use this to justify. I don't care. Hogwarts safe. Yes, the castle wasn't hit. Voldemort focused here. The prophecy. Then mission accomplished. I'm leaving. Where? Anywhere but here. Your politics, your wars, not mine. Dumbledore raised his wand, not threatening, offering. Let me help. Portal, side along, away from Ministry jurisdiction. Accelerator considered. 19% now. Too low to fight if they tried to stop him. Where? Somewhere quiet, remote. Time to think, recharge, decide next steps. No strings. No strings, you've done enough. For now. The portal opened, swirling, exit route. Accelerator stepped through, disappeared. Dumbledore closed the portal, turned to face the horrors. The questions, the accusations. But Fudge couldn't ignore this. Voldemort, Department attack, Death Eaters dead. Bellatrix Lestrange gone. The truth was too big to hide. The war was real, public, unavoidable. And somewhere remote, Accelerator recharged, 19% climbing slowly, battery recovering. He'd stopped Voldemort, temporarily, but the Dark Lord was still out there, plotting, learning. Next time, the fight would be different. Next time, Voldemort would bring worse. And next time, Accelerator would have to decide stay and fight or find a way home. Either way, this world had changed him, and he'd changed it. The portal deposited Accelerator in Scotland, remote. Mountains, empty, battery at 19%, rising slowly. The choker recharged from ambient electromagnetic fields. Natural sources, weak but present. He'd been there 3 hours when the message arrived. Not magical, physical, a raven, actual bird, note tied to its leg. Dumbledore's handwriting. He's returned. Ministry atrium, now. Fudge is there, staff, civilians. Tom wants witnesses, wants the Ministry to fall publicly. I cannot stop him alone. A D23%. Not enough, not nearly. But Dumbledore wouldn't ask unless it was critical. And Voldemort in the Ministry meant casualties. Civilian casualties. Academy City. The experiments. The kids caught in crossfire. He'd promised himself not again. Accelerator touched the raven. Traced the magic residue. Location locked. He ran, not toward safety, toward the fight. The Ministry atrium was chaos when he arrived. The massive hall, normally pristine professional, was a war zone. The fountain destroyed. Statues animated. Fighting. Golden wizard and witch versus dark constructs. Ministry workers huddled behind overturned desks. Aurors forming defensive lines. Shields flickering under assault. And in the center, Dumbledore and Voldemort. Spell work like nothing Accelerator had witnessed. Not individual curses, sustained magical warfare. Dumbledore conjured fire serpents, water constructs, shield after shield, his wand moving in patterns too fast to follow. Voldemort countered. Dark energy, necrotic, consuming, every spell designed to kill or corrupt. They were evenly matched, stalemate, neither gaining ground. Then Voldemort saw Accelerator. The Dark Lord's expression shifted. Calculation, opportunity, anomaly. Come to die properly this time. He redirected, not at Dumbledore, at the civilians, killing curses, multiple, spread pattern. Accelerator moved, intercepted. His reflection caught 3. The 4th curved around, hit a desk. The worker behind it screamed, fell silent. 20%. There, that's the choice. Protect them, drain yourself, or let them die. Voldemort's smile was vicious. Dumbledore tried to intervene. Shield charms, protections. But Voldemort split focus, attacked both, Dumbledore and civilians, forcing division. You cannot save everyone, Albus. You never could. More curses. Accelerator caught them, reflected. 18%. The pattern became clear. Voldemort wasn't trying to win quickly. He was bleeding them, making every defense cost. Dumbledore's breathing labored, age showing, magic draining. Accelerator's choker flashed warnings. Fudge watched from behind barriers, witnessing, finally seeing truth. But frozen, useless. Albus, coordination. Accelerator's voice, short, direct. Dumbledore understood immediately. You take offense, I'll protect. No, other way. You're better at creative. I'm better at breaking things. Dumbledore hesitated, then nodded. The dynamic shifted. Dumbledore went full defensive. Shields, wards, protections for civilians, no offensive spells, pure preservation. Accelerator attacked. Not reflection, direct force. He touched the floor, ripped chunks free, accelerated them. Voldemort dodged, graceful, but had to move, had to react. Accelerator pressed, relentless. Stone, metal, air itself weaponized. 17%, 16. Voldemort disapparated, reappeared behind. Accelerator spun, reflected the follow-up curse. Clever, but insufficient. You're at what now, 15%, 12. Voldemort's confidence remained, enough to matter. Accelerator touched the massive fountain ruins, the golden statues, tons of metal. He lifted them, all of them. Vectors redirected. Gravity negated, 13%. Then through. The statues flew, hypersonic. The air screamed. Voldemort's shields shattered, first layer, second, third. The 4th held. Barely. But he'd been pushed back, forced defensive. Dumbledore seized the opening. His wand moved. Complex. The air itself transformed. Fire, then water, then both. Steam explosion. Blinding. Voldemort. Disapparated through it. Reappeared at the far end. But he was breathing hard now. Focus split, fighting 2 opponents with different rules. You cannot win, even together. I am immortal. I will outlast. Shut up. Accelerator, blunt, direct. He touched the walls, the ministry's structure, calculated stress points. Everyone out, now. The civilians didn't need telling twice. Aurors herded them, lifts, flues. Emergency exits. Dumbledore's expression showed understanding, and concern. The atrium is load-bearing. If it collapses, then it collapses. Better than letting him walk out. You'll be trapped as well. I'll manage. Voldemort realized the intent. You're bluffing. You won't sacrifice yourself for... The ceiling cracked. Accelerator had calculated precisely. Support columns. Load distribution. Failure cascade. The atrium began to collapse. 10%. 9. Voldemort disapparated. No choice. Survival over pride. Gone. Dumbledore grabbed Accelerator. Side-along apparition. They materialized outside. Street level. The Ministry building groaning. Structural failure spreading. Not total collapse. Accelerator had been precise. Just the atrium. Just enough to force retreat. 8%. Accelerator's legs gave out. Collapsed. Battery critical. Dumbledore caught him. Gentle. That was reckless. Worked. He'll return. Tom doesn't accept defeat. Then you'll fight him again. Without me. You're leaving. Not a question. Statement. This isn't my war. I came because you asked. Because civilians were at risk, but I'm not your weapon, not your soldier. I never asked you to be. Good. Then we're clear. Sirens, emergency services, aurors, Ministry staff evacuating. The scale finally undeniable. Fudge emerged, shaken, his world shattered. He was here, Voldemort, in the Ministry. The minister's voice broke. Yes, Cornelius, he was. And now the world knows. Dumbledore's tone held no satisfaction, just weariness. The anomaly. He destroyed, he saved, I don't understand. He did what was necessary, as he always has. Accelerator stood, unsteady, 7%, nearly empty. Dumbledore, get me out of here, before they try to arrest me again. The old wizard smiled, sad, understanding. Where? Anywhere quiet. I need to think. Portal, swirling, exit. Before stepping through Accelerator, paused. The kids, at Hogwarts, keep them safe, always. Then we're even. He disappeared through the portal. Dumbledore closed it, turned to face the Ministry. The aurors, Fudge, the questions. The war was public now. Undeniable. Voldemort confirmed. The Ministry shaken, and somewhere remote, Accelerator recharged. 7%. Climbing. He'd fought. Survived. Changed this world. But it wasn't his world. Academy City. Last Order. The Sisters. His actual responsibility. He needed to find a way back. The dimensional breach that brought him here, it had been unstable. Chaotic. But maybe with enough power, enough calculation, he could reverse it. Or maybe he'd find another way. Either way, this chapter was closing. In the Forbidden Forest, Voldemort raged. The atrium, driven out, by the anomaly, by Dumbledore. But he'd learned. The battery limit, the power cost, the psychology. Next time, if there was a next time, he'd be ready. Next time, the anomaly would fall. At Hogwarts, Harry watched reports. Daily Prophet, Emergency Edition, Ministry attack. Voldemort confirmed. Witnesses, evidence. The white-haired stranger mentioned, briefly. Unidentified combatant. Possible ally. Whereabouts unknown. Hermione looked up from her research. He's gone, isn't he? For good this time. Maybe. Probably. Harry. Voice quiet. He saved people. Multiple times. But he never wanted to be a hero. Some people don't. But they are, anyway. Ron joined them. Practical. Reckon Voldemort's scared of him. I think Voldemort respects him, which might be worse. They fell silent. Processing. The war was real. Public, unavoidable. But they'd seen someone fight Voldemort to a standstill. Someone who wasn't even from their world. If he could do it, maybe they could too. Maybe. And in Scotland, Accelerator felt the dimensional fabric, weak, thin. The breach that brought him, it was healing. Closing. But not yet sealed. With enough power, enough calculation, enough precision, he could go home. The choice stood before him. Stay. Help finish this war. Protect kids caught in crossfire. Or leave. Return to Academy City, to Last Order, to his own responsibilities. Both mattered. Both demanded sacrifice. Accelerator closed his eyes. Calculated. Decided. Tomorrow, he'd make his move. Tonight, he recharged. And the worlds, both of them, held their breath. Waiting. The dimensional breach pulsed. Weak. Barely detectable, but present. A scar in reality where Accelerator had torn through 2 weeks ago. He'd spent 3 days studying it, calculating. The math was brutal. The energy requirements massive, but possible. At full charge, 100% he could rip it open. Force passage. Return to Academy City. The cost would be total. Every bit of power. He'd arrive home unconscious, vulnerable. But home, battery at 97%. Climbing, another few hours. He was ready. The Raven arrived at dawn, not Dumbledore's. Different signature. Younger magic. The note was brief. Professor Dumbledore said you might leave. Before you do, there's someone who wants to thank you. The girl from the Fiend Fire. She's been asking, if it's not too much trouble. Minerva McGonagall. Accelerator stared at the note, crumpled it, threw it away. He didn't need gratitude, didn't want it. The breach pulsed. Waiting. Opportunity closing with each hour. 98%. Last Order, the Sisters. His actual responsibility. Academy City needed him. This world had Dumbledore. Had the Order. Had their own heroes. He should leave. Would leave. In an hour. Hogwarts appeared through morning mist. Accelerator approached from the forest. Disillusionment charm still active from before. Snape's work held. The castle was different. Tenser. More guards. Patrols doubled. War footing. McGonagall waited at the gates. Alone. She couldn't see him, but spoke anyway. I don't know if you're here, but if you are, thank you for coming. Accelerator dropped the charm. Materialized. She didn't flinch. Professional. The girl. Sarah. She's been having nightmares about the fire, about thinking she'd die. Not my problem. McGonagall's expression hardened. No, it's not. You saved her life. You don't owe her anything more. But she asked to see you. To say thank you, that's all. Why? What does she think seeing me will do? I don't know. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Children process trauma differently. Accelerator's jaw tightened. This was stupid. Waste of time. The breach was closing. But Last Order would do the same, would want to say thank you, would need closure. 5 minutes. McGonagall led him through the castle. Empty corridors. Classes in session. No witnesses. The hospital wing. Madame Pumphrey fussing over potions. She saw Accelerator, frowned, said nothing. The girl Sarah sat on a bed, small, 11 at most, brown hair, nervous energy. She saw him, stood immediately. You came. They said you might not. Almost didn't. Honesty, blunt. She nodded, serious. I wanted to say thank you for saving us. Me and Tommy and David. You already did? In the corridor, remember? I know, but I was scared then. I didn't really understand. She took a breath, gathering courage. Professor McGonagall said you're leaving, going home, that we might not see you again. Yeah. Are you leaving because of the nightmares? Because you saw bad things? Accelerator blinked. Unexpected question. I'm leaving because this isn't my world. I have people waiting. People I'm responsible for. But you helped us anyway. Even though it wasn't your job. I was there. You were in danger. Simple math. My mom says that's what heroes do. They help because it's right. Not because they have to. I'm not a hero. Automatic, reflex. Sarah smiled, small, sad. You are to me. Silence. Accelerator had no response to that. I wanted to tell you that before you left. So you'd know. What you did mattered. To us. She held out her hand. Formal, adult gesture from a child. Accelerator stared at it, then shook, brief, awkward. Take care of yourself. Stay away from dungeons. I will. And you, take care of your people. The ones waiting. He left. McGonagall followed. At the gates, she stopped him. Will you truly leave, even knowing Voldemort will return? You have Dumbledore. You have the Order. You'll manage. We could use someone like you. You could. But I'm not for hire. Not a mercenary. I stayed this long because kids were at risk. They're safer now. You're mobilized. War's public. My part's done. McGonagall studied him, then nodded. For what it's worth. You made a difference here. Students feel safer knowing someone like you exists. Even if you're leaving. Good. Then Voldemort knows someone like me exists too. Maybe he'll think twice. He turned, started walking. Wait. McGonagall's voice. He paused. If you ever find your way back, if circumstances change, Hogwarts will remember what you did. You'd be welcome. Accelerator didn't respond, just continued walking. But something in his shoulders relaxed, slightly. The breach site, remote, isolated. Battery at 100%. Full charge, maximum output available. Accelerator touched the dimensional scar, felt it. Weak, but present. The calculations were ready. The vectors mapped. The energy requirements met. One push. Total commitment. He'd tear reality open. Force passage home. Academy City. Last Order. The Sisters. His responsibility. He raised his hand, began the calculation, and hesitated. Sarah, you are to me. McGonagall. You made a difference. Dumbledore. I never asked you to be my weapon. This world. Different rules, different physics, but same problem. Kids caught in crossfire. Adults playing games with lives. Power structures grinding people down. Academy City all over again. He'd left that place too. Eventually. After breaking it. After forcing change. But Last Order, the Sisters, they needed him. Didn't they? Or had enough time passed? Had they found others to protect them? Was he making excuses? The breach pulsed. Weakening. Each moment that passed made return harder. Choose. Accelerator closed his eyes. Calculated. Not vectors, not physics. responsibility, choice, meaning. He'd spent years being Academy City's monster, their weapon, their shame, then years trying to protect, to atone, to matter. Here he'd been neither, just necessary, a force that existed, that acted when needed. No history, no baggage, just choice. He opened his eyes, decided. The calculation shifted. Not a tear, a seal. Accelerator placed his hand on the dimensional scar, pushed. The breach closed, permanently. Reality healing. The path home gone. 92%. Small cost. He stared at the empty space where the breach had been. No turning back now. Academy City would have to manage without him. Last Order was smart, resourceful. She had others. And this world. This strange world of magic and prophecy and impossible physics. It had kids that needed protecting. Maybe that was enough. Accelerator turned, faced the direction of Hogwarts. Not returning, not yet. He'd find his own place, his own way. But he'd stay. Watch, act when necessary. Not a hero, not a weapon, not a monster, just someone who drew lines and enforced them. And in a world at war, that mattered. At Hogwarts, Dumbledore felt the dimensional shift. Subtle, distant, but clear. The breach was gone, sealed, which meant a choice had been made. He smiled, sad, knowing. Welcome to the war, young man. May you find what you're looking for. In the Forbidden Forest, Voldemort planned. The anomaly remained, a variable, a threat, but also an opportunity. Power like that could be turned, corrupted, used. If he couldn't kill it, perhaps he could break it. Time would tell. And far away in Academy City, Last Order woke from a dream. She'd seen him, the one who protected, the one who mattered. Alive, somewhere, fighting. She smiled, went back to sleep. He'd come back, eventually. Or maybe he wouldn't. Either way, he was where he needed to be. Doing what he did best. Protecting.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to turn on notification so you won't miss out future videos. Thank you for watching and we will see you next time.